You're deep in the woods, half a mile from the nearest trail. No signal, no neighbors, just you and your tent. Then, at 3 a.m., something presses against the outside of your tent, slowly tracing the outline of your body through the nylon. And when you finally look outside at dawn, the prints in the dirt aren't from any animal. This is story one, and trust me, it only gets darker from here. Let's get into it. Our first story takes us to the dense, suffocating greenery of the Appalachian Trail, specifically a stretch in Virginia that is well known among serious hikers for two things: its staggering beauty and its remarkable isolation. Sections of this trail can go days without seeing another soul. Cell signal disappears almost immediately after you leave the trailhead. Out there, you are on your own in a way that most people never truly experience in modern life. A hiker named Elias decided to do a solo weekend trek through this region. And when I say Elias was a seasoned hiker, I mean it. This wasn't someone who read a blog post and bought their first pair of hiking boots. He had over 1,000 miles of trail experience. He knew how to hang a proper bear bag at the correct height and distance from the trunk. He knew how to filter water, how to read weather patterns, how to navigate by topography when a trail marker went missing. He was calm, methodical, and experienced, the kind of person that doesn't spook easily. He left the main path about a half-mile in, a common practice among experienced backpackers who want to avoid crowded campsites. He found a small clearing surrounded by ancient gnarled oaks, the kind with roots that claw out of the earth like old hands reaching for something they can't quite grasp. The canopy above was dense enough that only thin needles of fading sunlight made it through. It was the kind of place that felt completely untouched, not just unused, but almost deliberately avoided, as if nature itself had decided to leave this particular spot alone. He set up his one-person tent with the practiced efficiency of someone who has done it in the dark before. He ate a cold meal. He wasn't willing to risk the smell of a fire attracting animals, and settled in as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in bruises of purple and orange. The woods around him were alive with the early chorus of crickets. Everything was as it should be. He closed his eyes. The first sign that something was off came not as a sound, but as a smell. It arrived slowly, the way bad smells do, creeping under the door before you realize it's there. It was thick and metallic, like old pennies and wet fur, with an undercurrent of something even more unsettling, something organic and wrong. Elias told himself it was a carcass nearby, a deer maybe, or a groundhog. Animals die in the woods all the time. He pulled his sleeping bag a little higher and let the exhaustion of his 10-mile hike drag him toward sleep. He wasn't sure how long he'd been out when he woke. There was no alarm, no sudden sound. He simply opened his eyes into the darkness of his tent and lay there, heart hammering against his ribs with an urgency that had no apparent source. His body was trying to tell him something. His mind hadn't caught up yet. He laid perfectly still, listening. The woods were completely silent, not the comfortable silence of a sleeping forest, but something different, an absolute airless stillness, as though every insect, every frog, every nocturnal creature had simultaneously decided to hold its breath. The quiet was so complete that he could hear his own blood moving through his ears. Then he felt it, a pressure, light, almost gentle, but deliberate, against the outer wall of his tent at roughly shoulder height.
Not the press of a branch, not the nudge of wind, the unmistakable sensation of a hand, or something shaped like a hand. It pressed slowly against the nylon and then began to move, not randomly, but with clear intention, tracing the outline of his body from the outside, from his shoulder, down his arm, to his hip, slow, deliberate, exploratory. Elias didn't breathe. He was entirely paralyzed, not by choice, but by some ancient instinctual system in his nervous system that had decided the best option right now is to be as small and undetectable as possible. Every muscle in his body locked. The knife in his side pocket might as well have been miles away. The pressure stopped. Then came the sound, a low, wet, deliberate inhale right against the mesh of the tent door, 6 inches from his face. He could hear the texture of the breath, thick and labored and disconcertingly human in its rhythm, not the sniffing of a curious bear which comes in rapid bursts and moves around. This was slow, focused, like something was taking its time to commit him to memory through scent alone. Elias heard himself make a sound, not a word, not a scream, but a raw animal sound of pure terror. The moment it left his throat, the pressure vanished. He heard the forest explode. Something heavy and fast crashed through the undergrowth in a panicked sprint, and here is the detail that haunted him most. It didn't sound like 4 legs. There was no gallop, no heavy paw fall. The pattern of the noise, the rhythm of the snapping branches, was bipedal. It sounded exactly like a human running upright at full speed, recklessly, snapping branches with every stride as it tore deeper into the darkness. Elias didn't sleep, not a minute. He sat with his headlamp blazing and his knife open in his lap until the first gray, uncertain light of dawn seeped through the canopy. When he finally, cautiously unzipped his tent and stepped outside, he walked the perimeter. He found the prints immediately, circling his tent. Not paw prints, not the track of any animal he could identify, but bare human footprints pressed into the soft dirt, long and narrow, with an unusual distribution of weight, almost no impression from the heel, as though whatever had made them had been walking on the balls of its feet the entire time, stalking. The prints circled the tent completely, and then they led away, not back towards the trail, deeper into the thicket, into a part of the forest so dense that no path existed and no person with any reasonable mind would choose to go. Elias was back at his car before noon. What is it about the human form that some things try so hard to mimic? Or perhaps the question we should be asking is different. What kind of person lives so far beyond the edge of civilization that they've forgotten how to move like the rest of us? Elias made it out, but whatever was out there that night, it knew exactly what it was doing. Stay safe out there. And if this story got under your skin, story 2 is coming next. A couple in the Pacific Northwest, a silent figure circling their tent in the middle of the night, and a Polaroid photo that proves they were being watched long before the sun went down. You won't want to miss it. Subscribe so you don't.